Yeah, you do. Cause hello, hello.
Okay. I don't have anything to. So I could be over here, right? Like this. Okay. Hello. How's this? This is okay. Cool. Groovy. Yeah, I gotta be
Hey everybody, just letting you know, we're waiting for a couple more speakers to come on in, so we're going to get started in a couple of minutes, so keep enjoying the music. This is all music that Janet composed, so enjoy. Hey, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for this turnout. Okay, so this mic stand is going to be a little bit uncooperative. Jan would probably find that to be quite amusing. Yes, Jan would right now be showing up with a handful of gaff tape and and be like, "Oh no."
There you go. You got it.
Okay.
Or Yvette, right?
Or Yvette. Thank you, Yvette.
Yes.
So this is a celebration of Jan's life. The slideshow that you saw covers everything from Jan as a little baby with, as Jan put it, Mama and Papa, all the way through the many friends and many family and many theater companies that Jan has had the pleasure to work with. So you're going to be hearing from little stories and anecdotes and sayings and wonderful things about Janet from lots of people throughout their life. You're going to be hearing from friends and colleagues and family members. And we're also going to watch at the end a very special video, which I will tell you all about. But to begin with, we're going to hear from Lauren Arneson, who is not just a good friend of Jan's, a wonderful stage manager, always handy with gaff tape, and a wonderful kitty mama to Kato. So thank you, Lauren.
Because I am not a jazz musician like Andy, I am going to read this. Thank you, Andy, for inviting me to speak today. This will be brief, just sharing some memories. Production meetings at Veselka, randomly running into each other on the street or at a theater, getting married on a Wednesday because you knew that was my day off work and you wanted me to be there. Saying yes when I didn't have my next apartment lined up, and you let me stay with you for 6 months rent-free. Yeah, exactly, you guys. That's why I'm shaking. I had mentioned randomly when I was taking over their living room that I love porgs. And for my next birthday, Jan gave me porg socks and this shirt. There's more. Also, thank you to Akia and Valerie, who have been very supportive from the minute that I was Jan's caregiver. Thank you, everyone, for being here to celebrate Jan with us.
So Jan lost Mama in 2015, and it was one of the hardest times in Jan's life. But one of the wonderful things about New York and wonderful things about this community that we have is that Jan always is able to find mamas who are going to take good care of Jan. So this is a wonderful theater artist, director, Joan Kane, who Jan would always lovingly think of Joan as Mama Joni. So Joan, please come up and...
Am I doing this right? I think I got it, I bet. Jen was the only person who I would let call me Joni. And she would call me Mama Joni, and I would say, okay, kiddo. And every January, we would get together, and we would dream. Now, I'm going to take you back to, remember when you were a kid and you would lay in a grass field and you'd look up at the sky with all those clouds in it, and you would see rainbows, or you would see dragons, or you would see horses or lions or tigers. Well, that's what me and Jan did. We looked up into the sky. Our sky was the indie theater community. And we saw potential, even in the clouds. Jan was a person who knew how to dream. She knew how to make something out of nothing. She was incredibly creative. And when we would get together every January, and sometimes in June or July, and we would always talk about the playwrights that we wanted to direct. It always started with the Scandinavians. Always. And then we would go to the Italians and the South Americans and the Europeans and the Americans, and we dreamed together. And Jan, I'm still dreaming with you, baby. I love you. Who's next? Yvette.
So when Jan moved up to New York, one of Jan's dreams was to be a theater director. And Jan found themselves in a wonderful set of places, one of them the Terry Schreiber Acting Studio. And through the T. Schreiber Acting Studio and the miracle of finding the Gene Frankel Theater, Jan and I came into this wonderful family called Nylon Fusion. And Nylon Fusion was one of Jan's many, many homes, but was a home that meant a lot to Jan, very special place. Jan probably directed more shows for Nylon Fusion than anywhere else that Jan would have ever thought of in their life. And some of the first shows, in fact, the very first show that Jan got a chance to direct in New York City was here in the Gene Frankel Theater in 2013. So we're going to hear some wonderful words about Jan from Yvette Dumeng, who makes Nylon Fusion and made Jan so happy.
Oh my God. My God. This picture. I have a great story about that, but I did write it down because I am such a scary cat. So my name is Yvette Dumeng, and I've known Janet and Andy for a very long time. Thank you all for being here to honor Janet. It still feels unreal to say that they are no longer with us. I knew I would cry. This is why I have to write it down. I keep catching myself wanting to text them to send a thought or to hear their familiar yes'm, yes'm. Does anyone know that? Right? I hope they could see how much of an impact they made in our community, our community that they've helped build. You being here is a representation of the legacy they left behind. And of course, you said that Janet has directed over dozens of plays with us and has been instrumental in just about everything we've done as a company in the last 15, 20 years. God, I hate to say that. Whether in sound design, projection work, as an actor, and of course as the Roly-Polies and the Big Funk, which was one of my favorite events and singing that Jan has done. Whenever I think of a project, Jan was one of the first people that popped into my head. I cherish more than anything their ability to make things better, to come up with something only they could come up with. She had the most amazing, unbelievable mind and talent. They cared deeply about people, about art, about justice, about the truth of the moment, and of course, beauty. I had the honor of spending their last days, moments with them, and they were still full of life, still full of dreams and talking about ideas and about productions and about what could we do next. That was who they were. Their imagination never dimmed, even at the end. I will admit that I was in denial for a very long time and desperately wanting to feel like they were okay. Someone I love is not supposed to die so young. I miss their yes'm, and I will forever have Janet Bentley in my heart. I love you, Andy, so much. I love you, Janet, and may the Roly-Polies live on and on and on. And about this picture, by the way, we used to smoke cigars up on the roof at their home, and we just had the most amazing time smoking cigars. And even, I wish I could play it, but even in the hospital, we talked about that, and they would make these they would be like, what is it? What was the thing they would say? Put it in or suck it. And that was Janet. Even in her last minutes, they were full of love and life. And thank you, Jan. Thank you. I love you.
So a lot of the people who have such wonderful memories of Jan are these great people in New York's theater community, and I wanted to have some of the people from Jan's outside of the theater world speak, and one of the people who I immediately thought of is Jennifer Belt, who was a kitty mama to lots of wonderful cats that Jan would often cat sit. Jan and Jen grew up in Tampa, Florida, and their mothers were very close, and they all shared a lot in the Tampa, Florida growing up communities. So Jen, why don't you come up and share some wonderful stories?
Okay, I definitely wrote mine down because I am not an actor. Although I grew up with actors, but I was really honored when Andy asked me if I wanted to say something here today. Janet's friendship was very special to me, and I loved them very much, as I know everyone here did. Okay. Janet and I shared what some may call the dubious distinction of growing up in Florida. Our parents were very close. My parents and Janet's mom, Mary Ann, were actors and teachers at the University of South Florida. And Janet's dad, Joe, taught in the English department there. It was this environment that inspired Janet and nurtured their intellectual curiosity at a young age. Sadly, Janet lost their dad at an early age, so I don't remember him well, but Mary Ann was almost like a second mom to me and my brother, especially after our mother passed. I've heard a lot of people say the same thing about Mary Ann. She was a mother to so many. It was just in her nature. She was compassionate, funny, smart, very talented, and she had the most beautiful, big, soulful eyes, all of which, of course, Janet inherited. Sorry. I often saw Mary Ann shining through Janet's smile. Janet was a few years younger than me and my brother, so we didn't actually hang out when we were kids very much. We knew her, and we definitely knew of her, because it seemed like my parents were always going on and on about how great Janet was. Janet Bentley is so talented. Janet's so beautiful. Janet's so smart. Janet's taking dance lessons. I was so sick of hearing about Janet Bentley. Janet and I had a good laugh over that when we were older. I guess they didn't realize how much my parents admired them. And of course, my parents were right to rave about Janet. They recognized early on that unique quality of spirit and immense talent that Janet possessed. Although we didn't spend a lot of time when we were kids together, we later shared stories about growing up around the theater, and we talked about how we were in awe of the work our parents did. And we confessed the crushes we had on some of the actors our parents worked with. One of those actors was Jeff Norton. Anyone in the theater in Tampa at that time knew Jeff and probably had a crush on him, including me and Janet. He was really funny, sweet, very cute, extremely talented actor, and a little bit crazy. He was really special. If you were a kid hanging out waiting for your parents to finish rehearsal, as we often were, he would always engage you and make you laugh. In 1979, USF put on 2 rotating productions of Pippin and Equus. Kind of a weird combination. My mother was in Pippin, but Jeff Norton was in Equus, playing the young boy who blinds the horses. And as you may or may not know, the character has at least one nude scene. That's a pretty intense nude scene. I did not see Equus. My parents thought maybe it was too intense for me. I was only 13, and probably the nudity too. But Janet did see Equus. She was only 9 years old, so I think Mary Ann might have been in it. But anyway, when we were talking about Jeff years later, I just remember Janet saying, "I saw Jeff Norton naked and I was only 9 years old. I was traumatized." My brother and I moved to New York in 1989, but we visited Florida over the years very often to see family and friends. One year we came down to see our dad at Thanksgiving. I think it was around 2009. He took us to a party at Harriet Deer's house. Harriet was Mary Ann's best friend, and Janet was very close to her too. Who was there sitting on the couch but Janet Bentley with her husband at the time, Michael. We probably hadn't seen Janet for decades, but we sat right down and immediately bonded and reconnected. We wound up going back to Mary Ann's house after the party and sitting around the pool, talking, drinking, and laughing late into the night. When Janet decided to move to New York a few years later, my brother and I were thrilled that we could get to see our friend more often. One of the many things that impressed me about Janet is they always seemed to be working and always working on very worthwhile and interesting things. Always connected with good people easily. We always tried to see everything Janet was involved in. We all know what she possessed so many talents for: writing, directing, dramaturgy, sound design, you name it. But I loved when Janet hit the stage. They didn't do it often, but then they did. They always managed to steal the show. There was a show in this very theater, it was in the slides, where they played a giant Jack-in-the-Box. So hilarious, but also kind of scary at the same time. It was great. It stole the show. Another one I remember was probably one of the Nylon Fusion short play nights, and Janet played a rude waiter. And they kept storming in and out and slamming plates down from the customers and things. It was just so funny. Once again, it stole the show. The passion Janet had for theater extended to all parts of life, of course. They were so passionate about cooking and sharing good meals with people. Russell and I shared quite a few Thanksgivings with Janet and Andy and my brother at our apartment. Janet would always get so excited about what she was going to bring. It was always something delicious and lots of it. They were usually recipes that Janet learned from their mother or grandmother. We drank and we feasted and we watched silly DVDs. It was always very cozy because they were family. Janet was also a world-class cat sitter. Whenever Russell and I would go on vacation, Janet and also Andy sometimes would stay in our apartment and watch our 3 cats, Franklin, George, and Annie. Janet got to know them all and loved them like their own. They would text pictures and give status reports on how the kitties were doing. We always felt safe and secure knowing our cats were in such good, loving hands. And our cats really loved Janet. When we returned, they were always relaxed, and it was like we'd never gone away. Of course, Janet also adored their own kitty, Kato. We were always exchanging cat pictures by text. In fact, the last messages on my phone to Janet are pictures of the kitties, because when Janet was in the hospital, they asked me to send lots of cat pics. So I did. I got to say goodbye to Janet in the hospital. I didn't know it was going to be the last time I saw them. I had seen them just the week before when they first started treatment, and they seemed to be doing okay given the circumstances, and there's still a little hope. But things had changed drastically on my second visit. I knew there wasn't much time left, but I thought there was some, so I brought things to occupy them. A book of artwork by Gertrude Abercrombie, who I thought Janet would like, some cookies. I was going to share some playlists with them. I just wanted to fill their mind with beautiful things. But when I got there, these things seemed almost frivolous, as Janet seemed beyond them. We chatted, and Janet was still pretty lively, but they were having trouble communicating. I struggled to hear their usually beautiful, clear voice. Their palliative care specialist came into the room, and Janet told her that they were having difficulty communicating and thinking. And Janet asked, "How long is this going to take?" And the specialist said, "You mean dying?" And Janet said, "Yes." I was standing by Janet's side, squeezing their hands so tight because I could not believe this conversation was happening. The specialist said it might be a few days at the most. Janet said there were so many things they wanted to tell people, and the specialist said, "You better start now." And that's when we said our goodbyes. Among other things, I thanked Janet for sharing their art with us and for being a second mom to our kitties. I held Janet's hand, hugged and kissed them, and told them I loved them a million times. Eventually, I had to go. And I told Janet I would see them later. I blew kisses to them as I walked out the door. They were sitting up in bed, blowing kisses back. That was the last time I saw them. Janet passed away the next day. I wasn't sure if I should share that moment because I know it's very sad and I don't want to be maudlin. I want to remember Janet at their best. But it illustrates so well one of the things I love most about Janet. In addition to their big, warm laugh, delicious sense of humor, and endless imagination, I loved their truth. How long is this going to take? They cut through the bullshit. A lot of people might be like that in that situation, but Janet was always like that. No beating around the bush, no sugarcoating things. They were always upfront, honest, and down to earth. That was an integral part of Janet. Another thing Janet said to me that day was that somebody told them they'd be going on a journey. We agreed that was probably true. So wherever Janet is now, I know they're on a fantastic journey, and we're also lucky to have shared the earthly part of that journey with them. Thanks for listening.
Janet was fortunate to have many journeys and meet many wonderful souls many times throughout their life. And one of the most special souls in Janet's life is Misty Jones. Misty and Janet collaborated on their first, almost feature film together. I think we're just technically a few minutes short of a feature, a long short, whatever you want to call it. But Jan was so proud to direct it and edit it and do everything for it. And it's an absolute wonderful piece of art that Jan was so proud of. And Jan treasured Misty so much in their life and felt like here is a soul that can travel the world together. So, Misty, I would love you to come up and say a few things about Jan.
Okay. Ooh-wee. Do I look okay? All right. All right then. Okay. Ooh-wee. All right, I know it's supposed to be 2 minutes, Andy. I'll try and be fast. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Ooh. It's grief that's too big to name. So please just give me, I'm so sorry, everyone. I want to be fast. So Jan and I, we met when they cast me in a play, like a million years ago now. And we reconnected again some years later over our shared hopes and goals. And I noticed a lot of people today talked about dreaming. That's where we really lined up. For anyone who doesn't know, to share your dreams with anyone, it means you're sharing and entrusting them with a sacred part of yourself. I'm going to talk more about Jan's talent in a minute here, but I have to talk about the really special things Jan said to me. The special names. Jan would call me, she would call me, she would say, my Misty. I had to look through all our texts to find these. She would say, Misty, my muse. Misty, my warrior princess. Misty, my ingenue. And I shouldn't tell you all this. I was going to skip this. She said, my harpy. So if you wonder the protective feeling I felt over Jan, maybe that articulates it or gives everyone an image somehow. Okay, so here's what I wrote. All right, here we go. Like we said, Jan was the type of talent that was very vast. Oh, I loved hearing what Jen said, all of it. Dramaturgy, directing, producing, composing, later directing for the camera and editing. And so, like I heard Yvette say, if there's anyone who could take a piece of work from just okay into something not just watchable, but impactful, that was Jan. Jan had that talent. Jan was not a miracle worker, but instead a worker who sometimes could work miracles. The key with Jan was trust. Jan had a directing style that I know that a great many people benefited from working with Jan for this reason. In a way, Jan gave their all to pour into the projects of others. That often meant their own personal projects and dreams fell to the wayside. Jan would always say, there's another thing I really shouldn't say, but I guess we're here. she would say, "It's because I'm really good at polishing turds." And so, she really did say that. So I didn't make that up. And Jan gave their energy and knowledge to guide others, and in a way, shifting them for the better, for often the rest of their careers, and in fact, their lives. So every time I prayed today about what to say, it became impossible not to mention this. I say that to say, let us not wait until life-changing illnesses or diagnoses or death. If you love someone, show them now. Listen to their dreams and hopes now. Show them now that they're valuable to you. The people we forget about because they give so much deserve better and the best from us all. My suggestion, take the time to express the simple sentiment, I see the way you've supported me and shown up for me. Now how can I show up for you? Thank you to all who supported my cherished Jan, long before the diagnoses, long before anything else. You are who I'm here to speak to, and to my Jan. Thank you.
So another person that Jan cherished in their life, someone, Jan always had these wonderful names. When Jan had a friend to call out, like Yvette would be Yvette, or when Jan called out for Misty, it was like Mystify. And here's one of Jan's old close friends, also from the Florida days, who has wonderfully worked his way up to New York, and Jan, and as they would put it, oh mio Theo. Theo, please come up, share some wonderful stories, and tell us about Jan's life.
I had notes prepared and was going to speak on a lot of different things, and I about 20 minutes ago just threw them out the window and said I'm going to speak off the cuff because I think of all the things that Jan deserves, my spontaneity, my honesty is top of that list. We met at a dorm party at USF that I did not want to be at. I was bored. I thought everybody there was stupid. And I was probably about 40% right and 60% arrogant, which is about the story of my life. And then Janet walked in, and the temperature of the room changed instantly. I was absolutely mesmerized, and I think some of you know what that feels like when you met them for the first time, because they had a presence and a dynamism and a flame that just drew people to them. And I talked with them for I don't know how long at the party, and I think we both decided that we didn't want to be there anymore, and so we just left. I don't even know whose party it was. I don't know why I was there. Jan doesn't remember why they were there either, but we just ditched. And we wound up on the 10th hole of a golf course in Temple Terrace with a bottle of wine from somewhere, talking about Dylan Thomas and T.S. Eliot and Arthur Miller and a dozen other playwrights. I was an English lit major and a theater minor, And they had just lost their father, the preeminent Eliot scholar in the Southeast. And I was fond of T.S. Eliot and Dylan Thomas, and so we had incredible conversations until about 3 o'clock in the morning when the sprinklers came on at the golf course. And it sounds like a scene from a movie, but it actually happened. And from that point on, we talked for hours about everything and anything and nothing. You know that Jan was talented as an actress, as a playwright, as a designer, as a dramaturg. They're also a painter. They were a singer, a dancer, an artist, a bass player. I saw them in a jazz band in North Carolina. How do you summarize a friendship that has lasted 40 years? We had conversations through phases of our life that I wouldn't share with anybody else except the person I married to. And they're the only person still alive in my life that I've known for longer than Jan. When I started trying to explore my spiritual life again and looking into the religion of my ancestors, my people, and I was terrified of this because I had been an atheist for years and I had absolutely no desire to look into spirituality. Jan was there, doing the same thing, looking into Judaism, and we talked for hours about Hebrew and Talmud and things like that, and they encouraged me to pursue it, and here I am. And it has just been an incredible journey, a life that was richer for having them and poorer for not having them. But if immortality is the impact we make on the lives of the people around us, you are immortal, my friend. And I will forever, ever weep when I hear Claire de Lune from Debussy that you played for me for the first time in your living room in Temple Terrace. And I will forever think of you when I hear La Traviata. Thank you.
So it's now my turn to speak on Jan, and hearing all these stories, so many wonderful things. Before I share some anecdotes, there were some other people who I know wanted to be able to speak. They couldn't make it. So I just wanted to give a shout out and some big thank you to Sarah Norris and New Light Theater Project. Jan had a chance to work with many theater companies, and New Light was another one of Jan's favorite homes where Jan got a chance to do dramaturgy and do some writing and do some sound design and video design, and always challenging Jan and creating an environment where Jan could, I've never done that before, let me try doing it. Jan got a chance to work on a project where the script, which was one of those wonderfully impossibly written to stage productions, called for numerous animated sequences that had to tell the history of the founding of America's gun companies. And Jan just tackled it by reading and researching and then sketching and sketching and sketching with an iPad until frame by frame, doing hand-drawn animation, came up with a 2-minute long sequence that did exactly what the director and the playwright hoped for and even more. And this is the type of person, the collaborator, the spirit that Jan was, to always get a new challenge and say, okay, how am I going to do that? And figure a way to do it. So we heard so much about Jan with their talents, as a director, as an editor, as a writer, as a composer, as a piano player, as a singer. There's so many stories. I wanted to just share the story of how Jan and I met because it says so much about Jan. Jan had directed a show in Florida at a small theater out on Florida's East Coast that it was a perfectly fine show. It was an adaptation of of an Ibsen play. Jan had, of course, this is very typical of Jan. When Jan did an MFA thesis on Ibsen, they're like, okay, I'm going to translate a work of Ibsen that has very few translations, and to do that, I'm just going to learn Dano-Norwegian, and did that, and took lessons in Dano-Norwegian, and did a translation of one of Ibsen's most challenging plays as an MFA thesis. And that made Jan sort of an Ibsen scholar. And if you ever doubted Jan's Ibsen scholarly language, just say, hey, I'm going to see a production of A Doll's House, and watch her look at you. It's a doll house. That's the original, that's what the English translation should be from the original Norwegian. So Jan was directing an Ibsen translation down in Florida, because why not, a woman from the sea. And the playwright had come to see the production and was absolutely floored by it and said, this is the most amazing thing. Jan, you've got to come up to New York. I'm going to introduce you to a very close friend of mine, Terry Schreiber. And Jan moved up to New York, met Terry Schreiber, took some classes at the acting studio, and became one of the producing directors of the acting studio. Founded Schreiber's Shorts, which is still ongoing, their little short play festival, and helped produce many, many shows at T. Schreiber while they were still running a theater company all the way on the 7th floor. So I had been working for Terry and for the Schreiber studio, sound design. I'd worked on a few productions, and the next production was acting studio production of John Shanley's Doubt. So Jan was brought about to help produce it and became a props designer for it and dramaturg for it. And on our first production meeting, we're sort of hanging out in the lobby, and I'm getting to know people. Jan was new. I hadn't met them before. So I was like, oh, hi, I'm Andy. I'm doing the sound. And Jan immediately said, oh, you're doing the sound. And then Jan immediately had to explain how Jan had worked as a sound designer for theaters in Iowa and was completely fluent in Pro Tools and really wanted to do the sound design for it because they had this whole concept of what music and what sound effects they wanted to do, because of course they've already done this in the script. And I was like, okay. So it comes time for we do our read through, all the designers are doing the presentations. So I decided to talk a little bit about the dramaturgy of Doubt and explained how the sound effects and how the music was tied into the times and the places and the convent that they were in and the changing realities of post-Vatican II Catholic culture. And Jan's reaction was, and I couldn't help but say this to Jan because Jan had said you're a dramaturg. So I was like, okay, so you told me about the sound, I'll tell you about the dramaturgy. And then afterwards, they were like, you took the words right out of my mouth. That was absolutely incredible. And I said, hey, you want to grab a burger? So after a wonderful first burger date and a second date later at a Spanish tapas place, and after a few days of shopping through Brooklyn looking for all the pieces to put together to create a fake transistor radio that would be period for 1960, after all that, we ended up being together and falling in love, and through being together, we met Yvette and we met Joan Kane. We met the many, many people in Jan's life who has shaped Jan and made them who they are. And all because, we're meeting at one place and just sharing a love of the diversity and the sheer luck of the world. And Jan, of course, would tie that into Tom Stoppard, because Jan, of course, being the eminent dramaturg, would talk about Stoppard and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, and how luck and fate is like one of of course they would. And they would then tie that into Albee, and they would tie that into T.S. Eliot, and this would be Jan's dream. So in order to complete the story of Jan, when we were cooped up over the pandemic, Jan's world in one way sort of fell apart, because Jan had just directed some shows, a big, crazy multimedia theater piece over at the New Ohio Theater. And with live theater being shut down, Jan was like, my world's falling apart. What can I do? How am I going to live my life? And I told Jan, well, everyone's doing this live streaming thing. Everyone's doing Zoom, doing online things. Maybe you should do some film. So Jan's like, okay. So I'd done some film stuff in myself. So I had a copy of Premiere. So let's open up Adobe Premiere and I'll show Jan some basics. And then Jan just took over from there and did the YouTube tutorials and said, let's make a movie. All right, let's do that. So just from tutorials and watching a lot of films together and watching a lot of streaming, and we at one point spent several days during the pandemic watching every film directed by Alfred Hitchcock, just so that we could be familiar with the Hitchcock oeuvre. And then we started Martin Scorsese, and then we were going to do so many more like that. Just from doing that, Jan had an idea for how am I going to do a film? I've got an idea. And decided to do a film called Life in Quarantine, which was a story about the pandemic. So this is the cap of a wonderful life, a really special life. Here is the film in which Jan would have loved to have been here to premiere it with you. Here is Life in Quarantine.
Today, we will investigate the strange, navel-gazing lives of two suddenly unemployed freelance theater artists who are making the most of the last moments of life in Manhattan as they ride out the unprecedented shutdown of the entire live entertainment industry due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19. This is an example of a director who loves to write but never got around to it because they were so busy directing. Now that everything is canceled, the pressure to finally write that play is strongly felt. Janet's casting pool is severely limited for obvious reasons. There is Kato, who is very magnetic and quite a looker, but very hard to direct due to being a cat. You can generate lots of compelling footage, but Janet has a vision that goes beyond improvisational, cat-driven stories. A vision that involves an actual script.
Andy, come on.
The other actor is a sound designer and composer who is quite brilliant, but needs a lot of careful direction, and the process can be quite difficult.
I have been studying how I may compare this prison where I live unto the... I'm fighting the boredom.
Andy,
What?
Andy! Andy! Andy!
What?
With no other actors to direct, Janet is confronted with the difficult situation of needing to write while also needing to experiment with actors. With no one but a cat and a butthead, Janet must make the ultimate decision to just
do all the goddamn parts myself already.
Well, I'm an auteur. It's fine. It's a goddamn play. What else do I have to do?
directing yourself is always challenging.
Oh, fuck. I'm a strange, mythical creature. No, I'm manufacturing. I don't believe myself.
I personally think it's a mistake.
Damn it, Kato.
But who am I to judge a stir-crazy artist bivouacked in a plague epicenter where their livelihood and reason to live has been unilaterally canceled? Frustration can lead to various distractions, some less healthy than others. Obsessively reading the news, playing video games, streaming movies and shows, and scrolling social media. And in the end, the unemployed freelancers are grateful for every moment they have with a roof over their heads and food in the kitchen. They know that their navel-gazing pain is a luxury. They also know that their civic duty is to stay home and stay safe. But hopefully, someday, they can be safely reunited with their collaborators.
Yep, that should tighten it, yes.
Just hold it like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think this will work better. So that is Jan's life. That was life in quarantine. That was the pandemic. Before we wrap this up, I'd love to just sort of turn this into an open mic if anyone wants to come on up here. There are people who may have wanted to say a few words for Jan, and I may not have been able to reach out to everybody and say, hey, why don't you come up with something? Why don't you say something? So if anyone would like to come on up, stand up. Anyone? It's okay if you don't. You want to come up, David? All right. David Meadow, another one of Jan's great old friends.
Hi, everyone. Most of us in this room, if we haven't taken it at face value, have at least been exposed to that bit of touchy-feely liberal pop psychology. Don't compare yourself to others. But as I think we all know on some level, once in a while, someone comes along and sets a bar, and you say, oh, you know, I want to hit that bar. I really want to hit that bar. So I'm going to talk about 3 bars that Jan hit. First, the obvious one that I don't want to be too repetitive. They were one of maybe the most thoroughgoing artists I've ever met, a true Renaissance person. I, who aspire to be a Renaissance man, I was always just bowled over by how Jan threw themselves into all these different media and did pretty amazingly at all of them. That was one bar that, you know, okay, I may have time enough to hit that bar in the rest of my life, but I don't want to be overly optimistic. And, you know, as work hard, play hard goes, Jan hit that bar of just being a consummate jive ass and cut up, as you got from some of these videos. I mean, nobody could goof around, and very few people, maybe no people I've met, have enabled my own propensity to shtick the movies and shtick right back at me. But finally, and probably more important than those two, Jan set an incredible bar of just being incredibly loving and devoted and just making you feel incredibly cherished. I got to know Jan as a friend and a lover, and I never doubted for a nanosecond that Jan just loved me exactly the way I was and just cherished and loved me exactly that way and really made me feel special as a lover and a friend. And I think that's a bar that, you know, okay, maybe we shouldn't compare ourselves to others. I would say we should all try for those bars if we possibly can.
Anyone else want to say a few words? Yeah, come on up. I can't quite see who is. All right, we've got some house lights. So, Michael Higgins, is that you? Awesome. So, before Michael says some words, one of Jan's proudest moments here in this theater was directing a play, an absolutely brilliant play that this person wrote here called Basement. And we are forever thankful for Gail and the Gene Frankel Theater and for Michael for letting this all come together and make magic work.
Thank you. Can anyone else here say that Jan made your dream come true? Because Jan made my dream come true. Because I wrote Basement when I was a young kid back in 19... And I brought this show to so many people, and they said, it's not quite ready yet. And one crazy reading at Theater Lab that Jan wanted to direct, and Jan fell in love with it. Jan fell in love with my creation. And I remember one great scene when Jimmy Brooks and Alexandra were dancing, and Jan went, "Scene 13," because she just fell in love with that play. And then they formed the Roly Polies to direct my play in Gene Frankel Theater. 4-week run that I came to nearly every show of and cried every night because I could not believe my work was in front of me being performed by somebody else that wasn't me directing it, producing it, doing a million things. Jan brought in Janet Mervin to do the costumes, Andy did the sound, Lucky did the lights. A professional crew did my play. I mean, I won't call my play a turd, but she polished it all right. That was a shiny play. At the end of it, people kept saying, that's the best play you've ever done. And I'm like, to this day, in 2025, it still is the best play I've ever done. I don't know if anybody's ever bought my copy of Basement, Next Stage Press. When I got published a couple of years ago, the first thing I said was to Jan Bentley, because that play wouldn't be published if not for Jan Bentley. I'll tell one more story, I'll be very quick. Ed Mallon wrote a play called The Troubadour Struck by Lightning. And Jan cast me as basically the lead of the play and gave me 3 things that bothered me throughout my life. A long 2-page monologue. I was afraid of my voice. I stutter and talk too fast. As you can clearly see, I talk too fast. I had to be shirtless and barefoot, which I've never done on stage ever. But if Jan could trust me to do that, to bare my naked chest in front of a bunch of people, walk on a stage with no socks or shoes on, if Jan asked me to do it, like I'm sure all of you have done, I came running, I knew my lines, I gave Jan everything I had because Jan gave me everything they had. I'm gonna miss Jan because they inspired me to be a better artist. I hope they keep inspiring you all to be better artists too. Keep Jan's legacy alive by making art special.
Would you like to say something? Come on. Yeah. Akia, come on up.
Hi, I'm Akia. I'll keep it brief. I think the thing that Jan worked with our theatre company, Rising Sun, for a lot of different iterations as a sound designer, dramaturg, director. And I think the thing that I hold on to is Janet showed up with their full self wherever they were. And they accepted whoever was with them as their full self. And I think that's really rare and really beautiful, to just accept people for exactly who they are in the present as you are. And I think that piece of how they held community is the thing I will hold on to the most. So just thank you for sharing space, and thank you, Jan.
Want to come up, Ed? All right. Ed Mallon.
Wow. Well, I know most of the people here because of Jan, I suppose. Thank you so much. It's an honor to see everyone here. I got to meet Jan because I was putting on a play, and the amazing Joan Kane put me in touch with Janet, who I hadn't met yet, and I was like, wow, let's do a play together. And I realized in about 5 minutes that I really did need a dramaturg for this, and and it was a great honor, and something that had passed through Manhattan Theater Source and a bunch of other places, and people might have seen it, but it was a great honor to put that on and to grow. And we laughed a lot. We had a lot of fun because we could be in the middle of something really serious, like Wagner's pretty cool, and then something really incredibly pubescent boy Monty Python humor stuff that Jan could quote really encyclopedically, and had such an excellent sense of timing that we just needed to work together on a bunch of other things throughout a lot of things. Thank you, Theo. Thank you, Michael Higgins. Thank you, people I've worked with on those beautiful things. And the summer where we got to workshop something on Governor's Island through it's IKEA's company. Thank you so much for having us so we could keep incubating and growing things. And Jen inspiring me to maybe not give up theater during the pandemic and look at all the wonderful things that we keep doing. So thanks, everyone. Really got to stop talking. It's been an honor to work with her and to know everyone here. Thank you.
Gail, would you like to say a few words?
Just 2 words. Hi, I'm Gail Thacker, and I used to run this theater, and I knew Andy first, and then all of a sudden, I called Janet. She walked in, and I was like, wow. I had major crush. And then she walked in with Andy, but I didn't think anything of it until I realized they were together. And then then it kind of just went differently, but than I was hoping. But both Janet and Andy were my go-tos. I always called Andy if I didn't know, hey, could you figure this audio out? Could you do this video? Could you help me? I'll give you something for free. And same in Janet, I would call up for advice because she was really bright on how to organize shows and how to put festivals together. And Thomas and I up there on the booth both worked with Janet and Andy. And I love you both. And I missed you, Janet.
Thank you, Gail, and also thank you for this wonderful space. Someone want to come up? Katrine, wonderful. You're probably going to want to hold the mic.
Well, that would work. I managed to turn it off, so that's my level of expertise. Which was why I always call on Andy and then Janet. I also met Janet over Andy. I knew Andy many, many years before, so I watched their love story grow from the beginning. And Janet was the first woman that I knew, that girlfriend that I knew around Andy that really made him happy. The moment that he was with her, something in him started to bloom and grow. And when I met Janet, I knew why. She just had this incredible warmth. The first time that I met her, she almost broke a few ribs with her embrace. And I just basked in that support, in that love that she always exuded, that generosity that she had. Directors don't often work together. We're lonely hunters. But over the years, I would get these random texts like, I have this problem with this actor or with this writer or can you just help me? And I would just drop everything, think of something. Sometimes it was helpful, sometimes it was just commiserating. And I'm very glad that I was able to see the last show Jan directed this summer in design for the Broadway Theatre Festival. And we met in the hallway of the rehearsal studio several times because I was also rehearsing a musical at that same time. And we hugged, we exchanged notes and commiserations. She was full of willingness and energy to want to make this good, but I could see how tired she was and how much she was already struggling. But the willingness to make something beautiful was there, still there, and that exuberance, that warmth, that I'll give it my all and my best, that will always stay with me and will stay with us. So thank you. Thank you, Janet.
So I think that's it. And someone, oh, you want to come up, Bruce? Okay. I think you know how to work a mic, Bruce.
I'll figure it out. I am quite well known in this community as Joan Kane's husband. I actually have business cards to that effect. So I noticed that people talked about all the kinds of different things that Janet did. I first knew her as Janet. It sticks in my head. That's all I can do. Director, dancer, musician, dramaturg, this, that, and the. She worked for me as a house manager. Anybody else? Huh? Anybody else work as a house manager? Okay. And the thing I wanted to say about Jan, when John mentioned we were coming to this, was, well, and I can't believe nobody else has said this. When I think of Jan, the thing I think of is she was brave. She was willing to dive in to something she hadn't done and do it and do a good job. That's scary. I wouldn't do that. I do things I do well and I stick to them. But she was brave and she stuck to things. She didn't stick to things. She went to things that she couldn't do and did them well. And I was always so impressed. Thank you, Andy.
I think we're going to need to start wrapping this up. So I'd like to, if we can bring up some house lights up here. So we're going to have everyone come out to the lobby. We're going to all have some snacks. But before we do that, I brought something in which I thought would be a really sort of way of sharing some of Jan with the community. And just wait this quick moment as I... So, going through Jan's things, Jan was a collector of these really wonderfully weird and fun T-shirts, and there's a lot of clothes in which, perfectly fine pair of jeans that can be donated to the Salvation Army. That's great. There's a lot of stuff in here in which, if we gave the Salvation Army, they would probably take a look at it and say, "Oh heck no." Shirts about Stonewall and, this really, yeah, this, exactly, yes. So what I'd love to do is, if anyone is interested, we've got this bag of collections. Which one is that? Is that Frankenstein? Yeah. Tom Waits. Oh, this is... you have to look at it closely. It's a Coliseum that says "Go Lions." That's freaking dream. So we're gonna find all these shirts, and if there's something that speaks to you, please, Stonewall. Yeah, we could do this all day. We want beer. We do have wine in the lobby.
All right, we all want beer. All right, guys. VIP, Beauty and the Beat.
The Go-Go's.
This is Jan.
That's Blondie. Tom of Finland.
We're almost there. Oh, I know someone's gonna want this.
I'll take it. Yep.
Was I good?
Yeah, it's another band T-shirt. Yeah.
You like it?
Take it.
Awesome. Oops, sorry. All right, guys, we're almost there. All born this way. Anybody? Anybody here? We're almost there, guys, because we have some delicious tacos. All right.
The Alley Theater.
The alley.
Clockwork Orange.
What a great idea, Andy.
Level Terrace Apart Joy Division.
I know, right? I have a great husband too. All right.
And John Lee Hooker.
Hooker. And then Born This Way. And that's it, guys.
Thank you all.
Okay, guys, we have some delicious tacos and burritos and cakes. Please enjoy. Bring the food in here because there's not going to be enough space for outside. So enjoy. And what else do you want to say?
And if you want, we're going to restart the slideshow. So if you want to see some photos from Jan's life, we're going to be playing it in here.
right.